Hello, I'm Heidi Manicherry. I'm one of the teachers of the deaf at SENDsuccess, and this is the third part of the three-part series of lessons for primary age pupils who have a hearing impairment. And this session today is going to be on hearing devices and why they are so important. So in the session today, we're going to learn about your hearing device, what it's called, and some of the names of the parts of the device. We're going to learn why they're so important and why they are so helpful to us, and also how to look after them to make sure that they are working well and maintained. So the first hearing device we're going to look at is the behind the ear hearing aid. So if you wear hearing aids, you're probably quite familiar with this picture. Your hearing aid might look exactly the same, or it might look a bit different. There are lots of different types. They come in lots of different colours, as you can see over here. But all the key parts of the hearing aid will be the same, no matter what your hearing aid looks like. Now, the first bit we're going to talk about is the mould. And the mould's the bit that sits inside your ear. And the mould should sit very comfortably in your ear. Sometimes when you get a new one fitted, it might feel a bit funny at first, just because you're not used to it, and it might take a couple of days to get used to it. But after that, it should sit quite comfortably in your ear. And as you grow and as your ear gets bigger, the mould will get too small. So they need to be done quite regularly when you're little. So quite often someone will need to come in. Hayley usually does the moulds and get you a new one done, get you a new one fitted. So when your mould isn't fitting right, sometimes it might just feel a bit uncomfortable, but it also might start making a bit of a noise, a whistling type noise. And some other people might be able to hear that noise as well. So it's good to know that sometimes if it's doing that, it might be that it's not in your ear properly and you need to put it in a bit better. But also it might be because it's got too small and you need a new one. And if you think you need a new mould, it's great if you tell your mum, your dad, your teacher, the person who looks after your hearing aid, and then we can get somebody to come and Hayley to come and get a new one done for you, or you can go and visit the clinic that you usually visit to get a new one. So that's the mould, and over time sometimes the mould might change colour a bit. It might go a bit yellow, a bit not look very nice, and that can be a sign that you need to get a new one as well. So next we're going to talk about the tubing. So this is the tubing here, and the tube attaches to the mould and onto the hook. And the tubing is soft and flexible and you can squeeze it quite easily. And it's really important that it stays soft like that so that the sound can pass through it. Over time, the tube might get hard. It also might change colour and go a bit yellow. And that's when we need to get a new one done, because when it gets old and hard like that, the sound doesn't move through it as well. So it's really important that you keep an eye on that. And if you think you need a new one, to tell someone, to tell your mum, your dad might be able to replace it. They might have some at home that they could quickly do that with, or we can come into school as well and change that for you. And the tubing sits onto the hook, that just sits at the top of the hearing aid. That's made of like a much harder material. And then onto the hearing aid itself, it's got two microphones that sit at the top, and that's what picks up the sound, picks up when people are talking, and moves the sound down into your ear. There's also a few other buttons. So there's a programs button that sits at the top next to the microphones. And it's likely that you might have this button, but it doesn't do anything at the moment. That's because they haven't turned on the programs yet, because you don't really need them when you're little. But when you're older, when you're an adult, then those programs can be quite useful. So that's something that you can have added to your hearing aid later. And at the bottom, this is the battery compartment. So usually this bit pulls up, and that's where the batteries go. And you might be able to change your own batteries. You might be really sensible and be able to do that yourself, or you might need someone in school or at home to change your batteries for you. But it's really important that you tell someone when those need changing, or if your hearing aid isn't working anymore, because that's something that happens quite often, especially if you're using a radio aid in school. You'll need to change your batteries very often. So that's the behind the ear hearing aid. Next, we're going to have a look at the cochlear implant. So if you have an implant, you would have had quite a big operation to put it in place. And this bit here and this electrode that goes all the way down here, this is, you can't see this for someone who has an implant. This is all under the skin, and this was put in with an operation. So the only bits you will see are this transmitter here. There's a big circle, and if you've got long hair, you might not even be able to see that at all. And then the processor and the battery, which sits just behind your ear, a bit like a behind the ear hearing aid. And the transmitter sits against your head, and underneath your skin is a magnet, so it just clicks onto the side, and that should stay on there quite well without any issues. Sometimes if you catch it, it will fall off, but you should be able to just put it back on quite easily. And it shouldn't go anywhere because it's attached to the processor and the battery. The important thing to remember here is to change the batteries regularly. They're usually they're rechargeable batteries, so make sure they're charged overnight. And any other problems, if you think it's not working properly, the thing to do is to go back to tell your mum and dad, to tell your teachers, and they can take you back to the hospital and they can have a look at that for you. That's not something we can do in school, so you need to get an appointment to go and have that looked at. The next type of aid, a hearing device that you might have, is the bone conduction aid. So this is something that sits on top of your skin. So this little device here vibrates, so it moves really quickly and picks up sound and passes it through your skin, through your bone and into your ear. So it's important this box sits in the right place behind your ear. Hopefully you know where it should sit and when it's in the wrong place. And this band, this headband, should keep it on your head and in the right place. So sometimes they might come in different colours. You might have a black one or a green one. And this part of the device has a battery in it. So you might need something to open it. You might have to push something into it to open the battery. But if it's not working, that's something that you need to tell someone, and they need to have a look at the battery for you and change the battery. And there should be lots of batteries in school. Any other problems with that, it's important that you go straight back to the clinic, the Wood Street Clinic, and have them have a look at it and see if they can fix it, because apart from changing the battery, there's not many other things that teachers can do and change. So it's important that you go straight back and have it looked at by an audiologist. So why are hearing devices so important? So the reason you were giving a hearing device is because on a hearing test it would have shown that there are certain sounds you can't hear, and those sounds would have been found in speech. So without your hearing device, you'll be missing certain parts of speech, which is obviously really important. When you can hear speech and you hear it clearly, that's how you learn to speak. So that's how you learn new words. That's how you learn about how to say the words correctly. And if you're not wearing your hearing device, it's likely that you're missing lots of sounds and lots of words, which can mean you can't understand. Maybe you get you think somebody's talking about something when they're actually talking about something completely different. There also might be sounds that you're not hearing, which might mean you're not producing them properly, which will have an effect on how people understand you. So it's really important that you wear your hearing device. As well as speech, picking up on the sounds around us is really important as well. for keeping us safe, for knowing what's happening, like when we're on the roads. It's important that we can hear when things are coming towards us, when someone's ringing the bell on their bike. So it's important that you don't just wear them in school, but you wear them outside of school as well. And also having your hearing device on means that you're able to concentrate better because you're able to hear. And if you aren't wearing it and missing out on certain information, it can be much harder to concentrate on what's important. So if you don't wear them at all times, as I've just said, you might miss out on conversation and information. If you're in class and you're not wearing them, there might be bits of your learning that you don't hear. So because you might have not heard a sound, you might not understand exactly what someone is saying, and then there might be gaps in your learning. Also, if you're not wearing your hearing device, it can be really tiring because you're having to struggle to listen to the sounds and listen to speech, and that can make you feel really exhausted, and you'll get tired much more quickly without your hearing device on. Also, if you're not wearing your device and you miss some information and you get a bit lost in a lesson, it can be quite easy just to switch off and think about something different. And also, if you say you don't just wear them in school and you don't wear them in the school holidays, which I know some children do, the trouble with that is that they can get used to not wearing them. So when you go back to school and put them back on, it might be more difficult to listen, and that's just because your ears and your brain have got used to not wearing them. So when you put them back on, it can take time to adjust, and that can be really hard, especially if you're in school and learning's happening straight away. So that's why we recommend that you wear them not just in school, you wear them all the time, in the school holidays, at the weekends. It can have little breaks when you're doing something maybe quiet at home, if that helps you, but we recommend that you wear them all the time. So next we're going to have a little talk about how you look after your device, and that's really important to make sure it works well. And some of you might also have a radio aid, so we're going to have a look at that as well. So talking about hearing aids first, so the behind the ear hearing aids that we looked at first. So it's important that those molds that we looked at, the bit that sits inside your ear, they're cleaned at least once a week in warm soapy water. So maybe on the same day at the weekend, that can be a job that you do, maybe with help from your mum and dad to show you what to do first, but maybe it's something you can do on your own eventually. And that's really important to keep them nice and clean, to make sure there's no wax or anything nasty in them. And the reason this is important is because if they get blocked or dirty, then that can mean the sound doesn't pass through them and they won't work as well. So it's really important you give them a good clean once a week. We talked about the little soft tubing before that attaches the mold to the hook. And I said before, if it gets hard, it's really important that you speak to someone and get it changed. So your mold in your ear, as I said, you grow, and it's really important it gets replaced every 6 to 12 months. But also if it becomes damaged, so I don't know, maybe accidentally it has been damaged or it's got a split in it, then it's really important that straight away it gets fixed, because the sound won't be able to, the hearing aid won't work well if the mold is damaged. And anything wrong with your hearing aid, take it back to the clinic as soon as you notice it. Maybe it's going off and on, or you're noticing the sounds aren't as clear as they were before. Take it straight back to the clinic and get it checked, because any time it's not working properly is going to be not helpful to your listening. So just to remember, at night, when you take your hearing aids off, it's good to open up the battery compartment. So this little area, let me put my pointer up for you, where the battery is at the bottom. If you open that up to let air in so it can dry out overnight. As well as washing them once a week, it's really helpful if you just wipe the molds at night when you take them out, just to get rid of any dirt that's sat on them. Put them somewhere safe. Things happen. We see lots of children who can't find their hearing aids if something's happened to them overnight. So we're just saying keep them away from any brothers and sisters, any dogs, anything that might mean that they vanish. Put them somewhere safe that you know where they are. And as soon as you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do before anything else is to put your hearing aids in. And this way you won't forget to take them to school, and you'll be able to hear as soon as you get up. Because as soon as you wake up, there'll be people talking to you, and it's really important that you can hear them. So with the bone conduction device, just make sure that when you go to bed, you turn it off, and also to open that battery compartment just to keep it dry and that air to circulate in there. Every now and again, it's important you wash the headband that goes on your head, because it's on your hair and getting dirty every day. So just take the device off it and then wash the headband separately. With your bone conduction device, it's important you always have your spare batteries on you. But anything else that goes wrong, if the batteries aren't working, and it's not working when you've changed the batteries, it's important you go back to the clinic to get it checked. With cochlear implants, it's important to remember to charge those batteries overnight so that you always have lots fully charged ready for your day. To make sure you've always got spare ones just in case something goes wrong. And also to put your processors in the drying box you were given nightly. And anything else that goes wrong, make an appointment, tell your mums, tell your dads that you need to go back to the clinic as soon as possible. So I hope you found the session useful today, and maybe you've learned something new about your device and how to look after it. If you get a pen and paper, maybe just try and have a think and jot down something that you have learned in this session today, or that you might do to look after your hearing device a bit better, or maybe something you've learned about when to wear it and why it's important. This is the last one of our sessions for primary pupils. If you have any questions, please do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you found them useful, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you back in school soon.